Okie dokie. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time we've been waiting for. A vote of non-confidence. Shit, I'm a little dizzy from that. All right, this is pretty huge. We are now about to witness a vote on the throne speech. So what does this mean? Well, not too long ago, Prime Minister Mark Carney did a speech addressing the throne, blah, 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 weird political stuff. That's just part of our parliamentary process. And now they get to vote on it, which is essentially a vote of non-confidence. Should this go through, Conservatives, we know, are going to vote against it. The NDP, now we know, are going to be voting against it. So all the power lays on the Bloc Québécois. To be or not to be, the vote of non-confidence, we shall see. So if there are more votes against the throne, this could trigger, will trigger a election. Now, when would we see this election? Well, we could see this election sometime this summer, in the next few months. We could see it at the end of the year. We could see it as late as early next year. But this locks it in. This is the equivalent of a vote of non-confidence, all right? Already, Prime Minister Carney's facing it, which is huge. And the fact that the radical NDP is already going to be voting against it is pretty massive. Will the Bloc vote against it? Well, I'm here to tell you that they may vote against it. And here's why. The pipeline, for starters, the pipeline is huge. It's a big, big issue for them. I'm just opening my window. Hold on. The Québécois don't want the dirty oil pipeline to go through their province, which is mind-blowing to me because they get all this money from the rest of the country, and a lot of that comes from oil and gas. So they don't want the pipeline to happen. Carney's saying the pipeline will happen, so they could vote against the throne, essentially dethroning Mark Carney, potentially. Also, the auto sector. They're not happy with the tariffs. They're not happy with the government response to the tariffs. Quebec is generally just unhappy at all times about literally everything if it isn't directly benefiting solely Quebec. And there's a lot of that stuff happening right now. So we're in a pretty decent position to be facing a success on this dethroning vote. So right now they are in the House. There's very few people in the House. People can vote electronically, but we are about to witness the first essential vote of non-confidence for this country, which is since Mark Carney, which is pretty wild. Now, Parliament has already voted on something in the past few days, and it was to table a budget. The Liberals said, no, we're not going to table a budget. That's just how I assume Liberals talk. No, stop it. No budget. All other parties unanimously voted for a budget to be tabled, which is pretty huge. So I'm sure you've already seen other people's YouTube videos saying that, whoa, they've lost their first vote in the House, which again is huge. The second vote could be the end of the Liberals. So we're about to witness this. So before we get into the live stream, everybody, and I'm already on vacation mode. It's the afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. I got a bevy. Huh? I'm ready for it. Before we get into the stream, I do want to encourage everybody, if you haven't yet already, you know where this is going. Hit that like button. That thumbs up is free to do. Come on. What do you got to lose? We're all wanting the same thing, to see the government get toppled. All right? We want to see another election. Hit that like button. Subscribe to House of Canada. It's free to do. Every new subscription is a liberal crying somewhere. I like that. We like that. So here we go. Without further ado, let's see what is going on the House floor.
Will please say nay. Carried.
So read this and then this.
Okay. À ce moment-ci, conformément à l'article.
At this moment, pursuant to Standing Order 38, a motion to adjourn the House is deemed to have been made and seconded at this time. Therefore, the question is that this House do now adjourn.
So adjournment proceedings, the member I have first is the honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to follow up on a very straightforward question that I posed to the Government House Leader last week in question period, and that is, does the Prime Minister have any financial holdings hidden away in offshore tax havens? It is a straightforward question that the Government House Leader very conveniently refused to answer. It is a question the Prime Minister has repeatedly refused to answer. The Prime Minister has refused to come clean. This is a Prime Minister with a history with tax havens. When the Prime Minister was chair of Brookfield registered $30 billion of investment funds in offshore tax havens in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. Why? All so that the Prime Minister's company could avoid paying taxes in Canada. So much for elbows up. But then again, this is the same Prime Minister who as recently as the fall led the charge to relocate Brookfield's headquarters out of Canada to New York City. But I digress. Canadians deserve to know if their Prime Minister is using offshore tax havens to avoid paying taxes in Canada. Instead of being transparent, the Prime Minister continues to take advantage of a loophole in Canada's ethics laws by hiding his assets from Canadians. Why? It really does beg the question, what is it that the Prime Minister does not want Canadians to know about his financial interests? So there's, frankly, Mr. Speaker, a lot of smoke here, and I invite the government to finally clear the air. Does the Prime Minister have any financial holdings hidden away in offshore tax havens, yes or no?
Before I allow the Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime to respond, there are still members in the chamber who are having side discussions. I invite them to take it to their lobbies if they can, or to take a seat. The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Respecting Canada's ethics rules is not optional. It's an essential part of serving in public office. These rules exist to safeguard the trust Canadians place in their democratic institutions, and the Prime Minister and every member of this House, regardless of their role or political affiliation, is expected to uphold them. What Canadians need to know is that the Prime Minister has taken clear and deliberate steps to meet and exceed the expectations set out in the Conflict of Interest Act. He has proactively disclosed the required information to the Ethics Commissioner. That, Mr. Speaker, sets the kind of example we should all strive to follow, whether in Cabinet, on the opposition benches, or newly elected to this chamber. And that's what Canadians should expect from a Prime Minister, a standard of conduct that reflects the seriousness of the office and the trust placed in it by the public. Now, Mr. Speaker, we've heard concerns raised by members opposite, and in some instances, we've seen these questions turn into political theatre. Let's be clear. Without evidence, this does more than just distract from serious debate. It damages the credibility of this House. It erodes public trust, not to serve democracy, but to serve partisan ends. And while the members opposite focus on rehashing and repeating questions that have already been addressed on many occasions and dealt with transparently, we remain focused on delivering for Canadians, on the clear agenda they elected us to pursue. Canada is recognized globally for having some of the strongest ethics and conflict of interest framework anywhere. That is not up for debate. These systems are in place to ensure that all public office officials are held to account, and the Prime Minister has acted fully within this framework. That's what leadership looks like, and that's the kind of leadership the Prime Minister has shown. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we take seriously the responsibility of earning and maintaining the trust of Canadians. That trust is not automatic. It must be earned through transparency, responsibility, and respect for our institutions. While so many choose to focus on spectacle, we'll stay focused on the work that matters, upholding the public trust and delivering for Canadians to build a strong Canada. That is our commitment, and Canadians count on us.
Honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, a complete non-answer. The Prime Minister has a history with tax havens. The Prime Minister has not denied that he is currently using them. Instead of clearing the air, the Prime Minister is hiding behind a loophole in Canada's ethics laws and refusing to answer all questions about his financial interests. In the face of that, what conclusion can be drawn other than that Mr. Elbows Up himself is using offshore tax havens to avoid paying taxes in Canada?
Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, what Canadians need to know, and I'll repeat it again, is that the Prime Minister has taken clear and deliberate steps to meet and exceed the expectations set out in the Conflict of Interest Act, which is passed by this Parliament. He has proactively disclosed the required information to the Ethics Commissioner. Canada is recognized globally for having some of the strongest ethics and conflict of interest framework anywhere. That's not up for debate. These systems are in place to ensure that all public officials are held to account, and the Prime Minister has acted fully within this framework. And while the members opposite focus on rehashing and repeating questions that have already been addressed on many occasions and dealt with transparently, we remain focused on delivering for Canadians on the clear agenda they elected us to pursue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You ran on
Honourable member for
fear-mongering.
Swiftcurrent Grasslands, Kindersley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And this is my first opportunity to rise in the House of Commons, and I just want to thank the great people of Swiftcurrent Grasslands Kindersley for putting their trust in me. For a third time after this last election, I also really quickly want to thank my wife Kyla and our 3 kids as well for their support. I wouldn't be able to do this job if it wasn't for my wife and all the things that she does with our kids. In fact, right now she is sitting in the hospital in Swiftcurrent getting a CT scan on her daughter's foot because she broke her foot last week here. So good luck to my wife and my daughter. Hopefully everything goes well. I rose earlier to question the Minister of Environment on the emissions cap, which is essentially a production cap, Mr. Speaker. One of the tenets, or one of the main issues that we're facing with here is we're looking at over 54,000 job losses and over $20 billion in lost investment into the Canadian economy. And this is on top of the hundreds of thousands of job losses that have already occurred in the energy and resource sector because of this Liberal government's anti-energy policies that was led by Justin Trudeau for the past 10 years. And now the current Prime Minister is following in his steps. And what we are seeing as well from the current Environment Minister, I've served on committee with her before, and she is actually very vocal about her opposition to any expansion of the oil sands. And quite frankly, on committee, she's been very deliberate in trying to suppress the oil and gas industry. And I just was looking at some more numbers, Mr. Speaker. Back in 2022, for example, $45 billion in revenue from the oil and gas sector alone went to Canadian governments. $45 billion. In 2022, that would have just slightly trailed healthcare, the cost of healthcare. So if you think about it that way, the oil and gas sector, the money that comes into governments from that is equal to right around the same amount of dollars as healthcare. There's many great businesses and companies in our ridings who support the local healthcare foundations that work in the oil and gas sector. They sponsor our local hockey rinks. They sponsor our community centers, our senior centers. This is the money that funds education. It funds nurses. It funds doctors. The government today has tabled a bill on fixing the borders and the ports, for example. Funding from the oil and gas sector is what will be used to hire some of these agents that are going to be needed to fix a lot of these solutions. They are deliberately trying to cap the single biggest driver of the Canadian economy with their emissions cap, which is a production cap. Now, if this cap stays in place, which the Prime Minister has already committed to doing, and I would assume his silence on the matter only confirms that,
I thought I muted my beer when
oil production in Canada is actually going to have to curtail by 5% in the next couple of years. And when you look at a 5% reduction, and yet you look at what the rest of the world is wanting and needing. The rest of the world, they've come to Canada numerous times looking for Canadian gas, looking for Canadian oil, looking for LNG. And Justin Trudeau repeatedly said, no, there's no business case, despite the fact that numerous countries came to Canada begging for it. And we have industry wanting to have export pipeline capacity so we can reduce our dependence on the United States for selling our product. And this production cap that's in place is going to just further hamper Canada's ability to be the supplier of clean, reliable energy around the world. Just wondering if the government would be willing to admit that this production cap is a terrible idea. They need to scrap it.
Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the truth is that the Government of Canada is committed to making our country an energy superpower. I think we can agree about that. I say this at a time when our new government is laying the groundwork to build projects of national significance while fighting climate change and defending our economic sovereignty. And if we want our country to remain competitive over the long term, we must not only diversify our country's energy production, but also offer to produce oil and gas with the lowest possible emissions. By decarbonizing oil and gas production, we will position Canada as a supplier of choice for fossil fuels in a future that prioritizes low-carbon sources of production. For example, the European Union plans on imposing a fee on high methane imports of oil and gas. Mr. Speaker, the clean energy revolution represents a tremendous economic opportunity for Canada to be more globally competitive while fighting climate change. I believe no Canadian wants our country to be left behind. Enabling Canada to become the world's leading energy superpower in both clean and conventional energy will in turn sustain hundreds of thousands of good careers in the skilled trades. And despite the many economic challenges Canada is currently facing, we must not forget that the climate change emergency remains. We need to look no further than the massive impacts that forest fires are having on communities and families in Western Canada today. We can't simply let up on the fight against climate or our climate fight. The time is now to make a difference and ensure we have the best possible future for everyone.
The Honourable Member for Swift Current Grasslands Kindersley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what would make Canada competitive would be a competitive regulatory framework. Now, the Impact Assessment Act, the one that's been ruled unconstitutional already, and the government says they made a little bit of changes to it, but we know that there still are other unconstitutional elements still in place, is one of the biggest barriers, one of the biggest problems. We're trying to get approvals here in Canada, taking over a decade to be able to get an approval on a major project. That's why there are no major projects being built in Canada here today. The first thing that the Prime Minister is going to have to do is get rid of the emissions cap, but also to fix the Impact Assessment Act. Down in the United States, they get approvals. President Biden 3 years ago gave an order to make sure approvals were handed out in less than 2 years on big projects. This House is called, and our party, in fact, especially our critic from Lakeland, has been very vocal about the need to match that, but even do better than that and try to get approvals even quicker, because if we're going to be competing with the United States for investment dollars, we need that regulatory certainty. We're not getting it.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, every sector of the economy in Canada should be doing its fair share when it comes to limiting pollution, and that includes the oil and gas sector. Canada's largest oil and gas companies are already committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050, and I applaud them. Our measures are working. Canada's greenhouse gas pollution is going down. In every sector of the economy, Canadian workers are lowering greenhouse gas pollution in a way that creates good jobs and cleaner air. In the face of the increased flooding, wildfires, and hurricanes from a changing climate, the government will continue to work with the oil and gas sector, with provinces, territories, stakeholders, Indigenous communities to promote clean innovation and the adoption of technologies to reduce emissions, including carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
So
Speaker,
when's this vote
Canada is in
happening?
a
Huh?
housing crisis. After 10 years of Liberal policy failures,
What's
home
going
prices
on
have
here?
doubled, down payments have doubled, and rent has doubled. According to TerraNet, which is Ontario's land registry office, the average age of a first-time home buyer in Ontario last year was 40, up from 34 a decade earlier. Keep in mind, this is the average age. That means there are people buying their first home when they are 45 or 50 or even older. Further, Build
They're trying to
GTA
delay?
recently found Toronto's pre-construction home sales have collapsed. Last month, sales of pre-construction homes were 89% below the 10-year average and decreased 72% from April 2024. This marks the 7th consecutive month of record low sales of new homes across the GTA. And sadly, it's expected to get worse, with Build saying that the new
What's the
housing
vote?
industry
The vote is essentially a
decelerating
non-confidence
quickly,
vote.
and a massive supply deficit
It's a vote
in the
against the throne.
2027 to 2029 period is taking shape. They also confirmed the Liberals' GST cut for first-time home buyers will not substantially address affordability, nor will it significantly stimulate sales and construction. Meanwhile, existing homeowners are also struggling with the rising cost of housing and groceries. According to Equifax, homeowners experienced a 6.5% increase in delinquency as 90-day-plus mortgage delinquencies increased 71.5% in Ontario and 33.3% in BC since the first quarter of 2024. They aren't alone, as 1.4 million Canadians were unable to make a credit payment in the first quarter of 2024. It's simply astonishing to think of the damage that has been done to the housing market after 10 years of this Liberal government. Simply put, sellers can't sell, buyers can't buy, and many families are struggling to make their mortgage payments. That is the Liberal track record. In my riding, the communities of Niagara Falls and Niagara-on-the-Lake are also grappling with this housing crisis. The Niagara Home Builders Association has said housing starts in Niagara are at a 10-year low. According to the Niagara region, the median rent for a one-bedroom unit is $1,550, which is up 19.2% from 2021, while the median rent for a two-bedroom unit is $1,800, which is up 12.5% from 2021. Further, St. Catharines has the 11th highest rents in Canada. Speaker, this is the lost Liberal decade, and today the dream of home ownership is even further out of reach for many Canadians. The Prime Minister's new housing minister was formerly the mayor of Vancouver. Yes, the city that is one of the most expensive cities in the world to buy property and is perhaps the epicenter of Canada's housing crisis. Under his watch, Vancouver rent increased by 50%, home prices increased by 150%, and homelessness ramped up nearly 40%. That's a shameful track record for the person now in charge and responsible for solving Canada's housing crisis on a national scale. It makes no sense. Speaker, last Friday, I had the opportunity to ask the Minister of Housing a question during question period. I was not satisfied with the minister's response, so I'm taking this opportunity to ask it again and to give the government more time and another chance to try and justify their actions. Can this minister and the Prime Minister tell us why Canadians should trust them and their government to fix the housing crisis that they themselves created?
Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're the only party that has both recognized the urgent need to address the housing crisis and put forward a credible plan to address it. We will make housing more affordable by doubling the pace of construction across Canada with a housing plan that will get government back into the business of building, will cut tape so that the bureaucracy isn't getting in the way of homes being built at any level of government, and create new careers in the skilled trades to produce all of this extra housing. Addressing this issue means that we need to work with all orders of government and together with the private and non-profit sectors to pull in the same direction toward building more homes faster and ensuring that every Canadian has a place to call home. This government's playing a leadership role in that effort, building one Canadian economy and taking bold action to solve Canada's housing crisis. We are using every tool at our disposal to build homes at a scale and speed that's not seen for decades. And that includes investing in a homegrown building industry that employs Canadian workers, invests in Canadian businesses, supports the adoption of innovative, made-in-Canada building technologies like off-site construction. This government is changing the way that homes get built in this country by enhancing our domestic housing manufacturing capacity. We lag far behind many other countries around the world. We need to create the jobs, build a sustainable industry in this country for the longer term at this greater scale. We are driving the supply up to drive the costs down and make housing more affordable and accessible for Canadians. This is something that for 10 years, Conservative governments did nothing on. I was the mayor of Vancouver for 7 of those years, and this Conservative government delivered 0 affordable housing in my city. A key piece of this effort going forward, though, is creating Build Canada Homes, and this is the new entity that will take the federal government even farther into the housing game. Build Canada Homes will work with all of our partners to help streamline the development timelines, to leverage public lands, and to reduce the financial barriers that build truly affordable homes for low and middle income Canadians. And through Build Canada Homes, we will also support the adoption of innovative modular and prefab technologies that can help speed up construction, improve the productivity, and reduce the cost of building homes. Really stimulate a more dynamic homegrown industry here in Canada. Build Canada Homes will also provide predictable funding for affordable home builders. This will add to the existing initiatives like the Housing Design Catalog, which provides standardized region-specific designs for homes, including row houses, fourplexes, accessory dwelling units, or laneway homes, as we call them, to make it easier and faster for communities to boost the supply and support densification. These initiatives are on top of other actions that the Government of Canada is taking to make home ownership more affordable now, like eliminating the GST for first-time home buyers under $1 million, this $50,000 savings, lowering the GST on homes between $1 million and $1.5 million. 10, 23, these measures will help lower the upfront costs for Canadians who are entering the housing market in these weeks and months ahead. So we will see that opportunity for many new home buyers, as well as these longer-term actions to scale up and double the rate of construction across Canada.
Someone tell me what 14 means. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Falls, Niagara on the Lake.
Through you, Speaker, Canadians are justifiably frustrated when it comes to the housing file after 10 years of this Liberal government being in power. When this government was first elected, they proposed an $80 billion plus national housing strategy. And what were the results? Housing costs doubled, rent doubled, and mortgage payments doubled. To compound this failure, the Liberals then pledged an over $4 billion housing accelerator fund, which the former housing minister admitted was not designed to build homes. I guess he was right. According to Statistics Canada, more homes were built in 1972 than they were in 2022. During the campaign, the Liberals took our idea of removing the GST from new home sales, but they did not go far enough. They also pledged to create a new housing entity. How much comfort and confidence should Canadians have in this government to create a new bureaucratic entity when they demonstrated they can't even run a passport office? And now TD Bank is saying they can't build
the Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Well, there's a reason that we have a new Prime Minister, a new Housing Minister, and Infrastructure who are here to serve and here to scale up building affordable housing across Canada. Based on experience that I've had at city and provincial levels, I'm here to deliver, as Canada is facing a housing crisis.
Why are you guys laughing?
And that's why this government is committed to a leadership role, working with all of our partners, every level of government, private and non-profit sector, directors to bring
1,000. What
down
does
the
that mean?
cost of housing. And that's going to stimulate our economy. We are building one Canadian economy in the face of the tariff threats.
It's going too
we
fast.
have
I
to
can't read
leverage
the numbers.
the economic activity that we see in the housing sector.
Hey, Grok,
make that
what do the
a
numbers
critical
mean?
part of our economic growth to
Or,
be the fastest growing
Siri,
economy in the
Google.
G7. And we're looking at Build Canada Homes as a big opportunity to take it to the next level. Thank you, Mr.
What's
Speaker.
going on?
The motion to adjourn the House is now deemed to have been adopted. Accordingly, this House stands
motion
adjourned
to
until
adjourn
tomorrow
the
at 10
House?
a.m. pursuant to Standing Order 24, subparagraph 1.
What? Hello? Is anybody out there? He's taking the king's thing away. Where are they going? I feel like I'm shutting down a bar at 3 a.m. and I don't realize it's 3 a.m. What just happened? What is going on? Am I? Is there something wrong with me? What in the world is going on? Okay, hold on here. Hold on. My editor posted something. On my Twitter account. I'm not even going to mute myself for that. Y'all deserve that with your numbers. My editor posted something on my Twitter account. I didn't know about this. This was posted 15 minutes ago. This was posted 15 minutes ago, and I'm just aware of it now after being attacked with all these numbers. The Liberals have adjourned without a vote on the speech from the throne today. Carney lives to fight another day. Did I miss this?
The parties, and if you seek it, I believe you'll find unanimous consent for the following motion, that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice of the House, A, the address be engrossed.
Okay, first of all, editor, if you ever put subtitles on the freaking whole page like this again, I'm just going to text you all of the numbers that have been put in my chat. No, I don't like that.
And forwarded to His Majesty the King. B, an address be presented to Her Excellency the Governor General, praying that Her Excellency will be pleased to transmit to His Majesty the King an engrossed address, which the Commons of Canada in Parliament assembled adopted in reply to His Majesty's speech.
All right, I don't like this guy. Whatever. We got the gist of it right here. Oh, right here. The Liberals have adjourned. As we just saw, they closed down the bar. We didn't even know it was 3 a.m. The bar is closed. Closing time. That's it. No vote. Even though there's supposed to be a vote today. And all you wackos in the chat are hitting me with all these numbers that I don't even know what the heck they mean. That's it. No vote. The Liberals were supposed to do the vote today. I guess I should have known, right? By how few people there were in the House. But here I am, my dumb optimistic self going, they're gonna vote. Oh my goodness, I'm reading all these numbers like an idiot. 458-372. Like, what are you people doing to me? What are you people doing to me? Anyways, who's gonna win tonight? Edmonton? They better win. They better freaking win. I guess that's it. I guess we're done now. What are we going to stream? What are we going to stream? There's no vote happening, and there's numbers flooding my chat. So I don't know what we're doing here. I've already drank a full beer for nothing. I was supposed to go to the gym, and I'm like, you know what? Let's stream the throne vote speech thingy-mabobber. So I smashed a beer, and now I'm stressed, so I need another cigarette. And it's done. And now the bar is closed. The House is closed. Adjourned. Oh, politics, man, stresses me out. Somebody zoom in on my face and tell me if I have any gray beard hairs. I think I do. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Absolutely nothing. I don't even know what we watched. What were they even talking about? Mustache guy was talking about how liberals suck and the liberals were saying that Canadians voted for them. Like, I don't even know. I have no, if you asked me to summarize what we just watched, I don't have an answer. I would need AI. maybe saw me scream at a bunch of numbers that I don't even know what the heck mean. That's the end of the freaking stream, everybody. Hopefully there's a vote tomorrow that happens, like a real vote, not a vote that didn't actually happen kind of vote, you know? Like, we want a real vote. It's possible. It's possible that they're passing the buck to another day so they can figure out something with the bloc, because they are really in a bad situation. The Liberals really are screwed. I mean, the NDP came out and said, you know what? We are voting against the throne, which is, awesome for us. The Conservatives obviously going to vote. I think Elizabeth May is voting in favor of the throne speech. Let's take a look here. Breaking, Elizabeth May says she will vote in favor of the throne speech, even though it doesn't mention climate change. What a surprise. Mark Carney probably bought her off with a case of vodka. No, we know it was wine.
Words climate change appear not in full sentences, but appear twice in the document. But there are no commitments, not even the minimum. We plan to meet our international legally binding obligations under the Paris Agreement. I just like to say I will vote in favor of the speech from the throne, but I wait with bated breath to find out what the government actually thinks is a climate plan, because so far all they've done is cut the one measure that was working. Thank you.
All right, yeah. So she's going to vote with, so we need the bloc, we need the Conservatives, and we need the NDP to team up and vote against the throne. Somebody spamming, when is the vote in the House? Brother, I thought it was today. I thought it was supposed to be right now. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. But you know what the crazy part is? It's the government House leader. It used to be Karina Gould, whoever has that position now, Steve McKinnon maybe, who decides when the vote happens. So that's awesome. But the Chihuahua, François-Philippe Champagne, said in the House today that, and the people will have a chance to vote this week or in the next few days. So we're going to see a vote this week. Was supposed to be today, but I guess they said, nope, denied. So tune in for tomorrow's question period, I guess. And we'll wait and see when the vote actually takes place. And I'm also seeing that the numbers mean nothing. The numbers mean nothing. Okay, well, thanks for trolling me, chat. I thought we were all on the same side. I guess I got trolled. You guys got me, huh? You guys freaking got me. All right. I was freaking out because of the numbers, but we're good now. Anyways, peace and love. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go Oilers, go. And let's bring the Tariff Cup home this year. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye for now.